Hey there, my name is Cameron. Welcome to Beyond the Parallax Effect. This is Lesson 13. In this lesson, the camera projection technique is used to create this scene. So let's dive in and get started. No work is done in Photoshop for this scene. Import the JPEG file into After Effects. Create a new solid. Make it 3D and rotate on the X-axis. Create a new 50mm camera. Under Generate, apply the grid effect to the ground solid. Scale the solid so that it closely matches the entire ground plane of the photo. It does not need to be exact, just close. Create a second solid and name it Background. Apply the grid effect to this layer, make 3D, and position back on the Z-axis, about 7500. Scale up to fill the background. Create a second viewport with a custom view in order to fully take in the setup of the scene. Also position up on the Y-axis. Create a third solid named Side. Apply the grid effect and make 3D. Rotate this layer 90 degrees on the Y-axis and position to somewhat match the side of the image. Scale and continue to position. It's important that all of the image is covered with solids, or the technique will not work. Duplicate the desert JPEG and position at the top of the layer stack. Make the layer 3D. Create a new light and make it a point light. Name this light Projector. Settings should be 100% intensity, cast shadows, 100% shadow darkness, and shadow diffusion set to 0. Copy the position of the camera and paste to the position of the light and the JPEG layer. After pasting to the JPEG layer, position the layer slightly forward on the Z-axis so that the image sits just in front of the camera. Scale the image down so that it sits mostly full frame in front of the camera. In this case, a scale of 0.9 is close enough. Tap AA on the keyboard and open up the material options for the desert layer. Set cast shadows to only and turn up light transmission to 100%. Select the side layer, background layer, and ground layer and set each of their material options to not accept lights. The camera and light are now projecting the desert image onto the solid layers. Open up the composition settings. Under 3D Renderer, click the Options button next to Renderer. Set the shadow map resolution to a higher number like 4000. Create a new camera and name it Camera Animate. Rename the first camera to Camera Projector. This camera should never be moved. Make sure to lock this layer along with the Desert JPEG layer and the projector light. By moving the second camera, we can see the parallax effect. In contrast, if the camera was to move around a regular 3D layer, there would be no parallax. Set keyframes on the Y-axis for the animate camera so that the camera does a vertical move from top to bottom. Create a new text layer. Make it 3D and position the text layer so that it sits close to the camera and just on top of the road. Scale the text up and make the text color white so that it's easier to see. Turn off Accept Shadows so that the projection does not affect the text. Continue to position the layer closer to the camera. Pre-compose the text layer. Copy the animated camera, projector light, and ground solid, and paste these three layers inside the text pre-comp. Enable cast shadows on the text layer. Change the position of the light so that it sits behind and slightly above the text layer, and produces shadows that sweep towards the camera. Crank up the shadow diffusion as well as the shadow darkness. Change the color of the text to a tan color so that it more closely matches the color palette of the desert scene. To see the text color, turn off Accept Lights under Material Options. To see the color in the text shadow, turn up the light transmission. The last thing needed in this pre-comp is a transparent shadow catcher. Add a new black solid and place on the bottom of the layer stack. Set the ground layer to Silhouette Luma to create the transparent shadow catcher. Back in the composite comp, the text and shadow appear to sit on the road. Mask the bottom half of the text pre-comp to get rid of the unwanted black in the upper half of the comp. Create a new HD output comp. Scale down and position the composite comp. Drop the letterbox PNG over the top. Instead of a grain layer, this time add a noise layer. The noise layer creates a different look than grain does, but it still helps to tie all the elements together. Set the noise intensity amount to a low number like 10%. Lastly, create a new dark orange solid for the vignette. Vignette colors do not always need to be black. Use the rounded rectangle with a high feather value. This makes a nice colored vignette that matches the color palette of the scene. This wraps up Lesson 13 on the camera projection technique. Let me know if you learned something new, and please leave your comments below.